Hello, today I'm chatting about a topic that's a little more serious than the topics I usually cover here at Beyond 50 Skin. I recently had a scare with skin cancer. If you're new to Beyond 50 Skin, welcome. My name is Cindy. I'm 59 years old. I love to chat skincare and help you with your skincare needs, the occasional minimalist makeup look, and a little bit of hair care along the way. Today, my topic is a little more serious in honor of Skin Cancer Awareness Month. If you didn't know, May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. I'm going to cover my recent worries and how I'm dealing with them. I'm also going to share a few stories about friends and family members who have had skin cancer and remind you to get your skin checks every year. Did you know that your general practitioner is often trained in doing kind of a first line skincare check? Get that done, schedule it during your regular physical. It's easy, it's done. If they have a concern, they'll usually pass you on to a dermatologist. My recent scare had to do with a little crusty spot that just kept erupting on my lower lip. And I didn't have a local dermatologist here, so it took me a while to get in. Finally got in. She took a look at it. She's like, I'm not really all that concerned. Maybe some actinic keratosis. Just a reminder, I'm not a doctor and I have no way to help you with diagnosing your skin cancer issues. So definitely do your yearly checks. I'm just here to share my story and a few stories of my friends and family members who have dealt with skin cancer. Back to this little spot on my lip. I went in. She's like, I'm not really that concerned. Let's just see how it goes. It came back and it came back. And it came back. And so I went in and I'm like, I'm really concerned about this. It just keeps erupting. She looked at it a little bit more. She's like, you know what? Since it still keeps happening, let's do a treatment of liquid nitrogen. And I don't know if you're familiar with liquid nitrogen. Maybe you've had some spots taken care of in office. It's called cryotherapy. They just freeze it off. I had some warts removed when I was a kid with cryotherapy. It burns and it stings a little bit. And she was hesitant to do it because it often leaves a residual dark mark. I'm like, I don't care about any residual hyperpigmentation or hypopigmentation. Just let's take care of this. I don't want to let it go. She was completely agreeable. And she gave me a home care plan that I had not been doing in my regular skincare plan. Now, I recently did a video on skincare for the lips. This is an extension of that video. The extra step is actually including your retinoid in your evening skincare routine and putting it on the lip area. And I was like, whoa, that sounds scary. You know how if you put a prescription product around the mouth area, often people have flaking and trouble with it. And I was really hesitant. She said, if you're hesitant to put the strength that you have on your lips, get different over the counter. But then I thought, I had a couple different strengths of agency, which is the company that I'm currently using for my tretinoin because they can compound it in smaller percentages. So I used my low percentage, 0.002% from agency on my lip area with no problem. So I am now in my evening skincare routine, including the lip area in my retinoid application. And I'd never really thought about it because they always say kind of avoid the nasolabial folds and the mouth area because you can get so much irritation. And if you're not able to tolerate that, maybe try different over the counter if your dermatologist agrees with that idea. I'm also dedicating to wearing a lip SPF. This is the one by Dermatology, a new release, SPF 40. There's one that you guys just recently recommended to me, Naked Sundays with SPF 50, but wear your SPF on your lip area and even better, a tinted one. But for around the mouth, of course, you want to use your sunscreen every single day. Dedicate yourself to SPF 30, 50 is even better, and reapply it throughout the day, especially if you live in an area with a higher UV index on average, like I do here in Colorado. Number one, start including your retinoid in your evening skincare routine. Number two, dedicate yourself to finding an SPF you love. I just did a video on SPFs that I'm loving right now, some mineral ones. I did some reviews for you guys, coming up with a chemical SPF review a little bit later in the summer. And then for your lip area, find an SPF that has a bit of tint. I even sometimes load an SPF first and then do a lip gloss over. Recently did that whole lip care routine and included a ton of glosses, but I always put my SPF under the gloss or I top it with an additional SPF. I just remembered I used to use a lip SPF from Vanicream. Really tricky to get. I'm not even sure that they make it anymore, but it does have a white cast. It's SPF 50, but who cares? You're protecting your lips, especially if you're having a no makeup day. Wear something that gets your lips covered, reapply throughout the day. And remember, SPF 365 days of the year, unless perhaps your UV index where you live is like a 0 or maybe a 1. Speaking of UV index, I'm going to share with you my first family story. I have a cousin that lives in the UK. Their UV index is pretty darn low a lot of the time. It's cloudy. They're always moaning and groaning about the lack of sunshine over in the UK. But unfortunately, my cousin ended up with basal cell carcinoma that he ignored. Remember, I'm saying get your skin checks every year, do it. He had a little spot on his upper lip. He ignored it, and it ended up spreading and spreading. And actually, basal cell can metastasize and be deadly. All the types of skin cancer can eventually cause you to lose your life. Basal cell, actinic keratosis, which just starts as a little small lesion, squamous cell carcinoma. Don't ignore any of these lesions. Get them checked. So back to his story. He had a little spot on his upper lip. He said he's had it for years. And then it got worse and worse as he moved into his later 50s, to the point where he decided he needed to get it checked. They had to remove a huge chunk of his lip. I'll throw a picture up here. They've done a beautiful job stitching it up, and it looks fine. But if he had addressed it earlier, he would have probably gotten away with a little cryotherapy, the topical cream 5-fluorouracil that can help clear up lesions. And it's just a topical skin application. It kind of erupts a little bit worse, and then it kind of heals up, but it does help reduce these lesions that you can get. All right, back to his story. So he is so regretful that he didn't go way back when, years ago. So it was slow growing years ago, and have it checked out, and had to go through this big surgery on his upper lip. So that's his story. I also have the story of an earlier lesion I had on my upper lip years ago, and they did treat it with the 5-fluorouracil. Nothing ever happened. I didn't have to do cryotherapy. It did heal with a red spot, PIE, post-inflammatory erythema, that is there to this day, but it has not changed in years and years and years, whereas this bottom lesion was changing. Now it's cleared up. It's been about a month. I don't see any re-eruption. So like I said, if you see something, say something and do something. That is the key with getting these skin cancers early. On to another family member who was in her 30s and went and said, I think I have a family history of melanoma. I think this is concerning. I have moles. She just had that skin type that is more prone to melanoma, and she had a family history. She was ignored by, I think, 2 dermatologists. A year went by. She finally got a second or third opinion, and it was melanoma. She had it removed. She's looking fantastic. It was, I think, in the upper brow area. I could be wrong about that. Doesn't matter where it was, but she had it removed. They, of course, had to do all the margins, do the Mohs surgery. And that's a type of surgery, if you're not familiar with, they take out the lesion, they check it under a microscope, check it again, take out more if they need to, until they don't find any. But like I said, any of these lesions can lead to a deadly form of cancer. So get it checked out, get it looked at, and get it taken care of. And if you don't like your first opinion, or your GP's opinion or your dermatologist's opinion, get a second opinion. If you feel like there's something wrong, get a second opinion. The third story I have to share with you is very tragic. I had a friend, my grandmother's best friend, who took us fishing, and his name is Jack, and he ended up dying of skin cancer. A spot on his cheek that he just ignored, and he passed away much earlier, in his 70s, than he ever should have. He was active. He taught me to fish. We had great times together. And it's just so sad to think back on the fact that he could have had such a much longer life than he did, but he ignored it. Also, both of my dads have had skin cancer. My birth father had part of his ear removed. He was always on a sailboat and had a huge chunk of his ear removed. My dad has had skin cancer lesions removed, had, I think, Mohs surgery on his calf. And he has very light, pale skin, and has been really diligent about getting his skin checks. He's had several spots removed, a few on his face, a few on his legs. And just don't forget also to do your own check. And I have one more story to share with you about myself. No, it's not skin cancer, but it's just a reminder to get your pap smears on time. They caught a squamous cell carcinoma on my cervix, which was removed. I've never had a repeat. I have it checked regularly. And because it was caught early, and that's really my message here, if you catch these early, they can be treated. So I had it removed, was caught early, never had a recurrence of it. I get my checks regularly. And like I said, do your skin checks, do your cancer screens, keep on top of this, especially as we get older. Those skin lesions tend to pop out because of a repeated exposure to the sun over the years. It's really more in our later, wiser years that we get the emergence of these lesions. So just a quick reminder, like I said, in honor of Skin Cancer Awareness Month, wear your sunscreen, start using your retinoids, and wishing you all a skin-tastic day.